Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 12th of June, comes to you from London. And dramatic falls in the oil price yesterday. We saw really just falling off a cliff through that $40 level, and once we fell through that, we've continued to fall. The key thing is, where do we go now? On the very short-term 1-minute chart, we do have downside targets to 36.20, 35.95. 1 to 34.80 and 1 to 36.65. So we are seeing targets as much as 6% lower. And we do have this downside target on the hourly chart of 35.50, let's say. So that's almost 5% from where we are now. So the lows that we've seen overnight, they need to hold. And so that's what we'll be watching for. And watching for any new 1-minute targets developing to the upside. Now, the thing that's driving this, of course, is a complete sentiment change. We saw the Dow Jones down nearly 7% overnight. That's put it into short-term bearish territory on the cloud chart. And we've seen this massive candle reversal this week really happening within the weekly cloud. So really significant that the price has hit some resistance there on the Dow. Looking at the S&P 500, it was down nearly 6%. That's also put us back. We did see a little bit of recovery just towards the end of the session, but we are still now breaking the end of that uptrend, so that's quite significant as well. So we need to be just aware of that. The NASDAQ, of course, has been stronger, and we did see it recover towards the end of the session yesterday, so that was very significant. But across the board, we've seen a lot of the cyclical stocks falling. You see the Russell 2000 was down significantly as well, and the futures this morning, the E-minis up 1.3%, and the NASDAQ is up 1%. So we are expecting a bit of a bounce in the markets this morning, and already in the UK we're seeing the FTSE and the mid-caps flat. Most European indices flat. We're seeing the DAX up 0.5% based on those futures. The dollar continues to fall. So we do see here the dollar actually looking weak, medium and long term, but actually just starting to recover a little bit on that short term chart. The euro is sitting at 113 at the moment, so it's pulled back, just coming back into negative territory there. And looking at the dollar yen, we're seeing the dollar just higher there against the yen, so that's an improvement. Sterling, news out this morning, the UK economy shrank 20% in April, has really had an impact, and we're seeing sterling actually looking pretty bearish there, and against the euro also off slightly, so not looking so good. Looking at Asian markets, they were hit pretty hard. They didn't really get to factor in the US falls yesterday, so overnight they've reacted to those falls, and so that's quite significant there as well. And gold, of course, is a beneficiary of the rise to the upside, so we are seeing an improvement there. And silver actually down nearly 1%, so industrial demand there just hitting silver. And US 10-year yields steady at about 0.7%. We really have been just teetering along these levels for a good 3 months, although very short term we're looking a bit more bearish there. The tech stocks really didn't fall that dramatically. We saw Apple yesterday holding that trend pretty key. Amazon also still holding their uptrend. We've seen certainly stocks coming off the top here, but it's significant that these trends are still well and truly in place. Microsoft did fall quite heavily there as well. Coming back to the energy mix, of course, we're all eyes on this Brent crude low, just seeing a little new target emerging there to the upside. This will be the chart to watch today, the 1-minute targets on Brent crude. WTI, we've a similar picture. We've got a few downside targets here. We just need to hold this level at around 34.50. That's the key level for WTI today. Looking at NatGas, we see here that US NatGas has actually had a little bit better week. It's been fairly flat overall for the week. Coal has fallen back significantly. No big surprises here. The trend hitting the cloud resistance. Lots of key levels there. 51.50 is the level for coal. If we fall through that, then we're going lower still. We've got this 43.62 target. That's been hanging over us for a very long time. Emissions down 1.2% this morning. just holding the bullish trend here on that short-term chart, but we do have a plethora of downside targets here, so that's what we need to be aware of. 4% downside is the potential. So we could, a lot will depend on how the US market trades today after such big falls yesterday, and certainly stocks sentiment will have an impact. Looking at MBP, we've actually been relatively strong. We're up 4% this morning, holding the gains. This has been the weak point in the market most of this year, but interestingly, gas prices have been fairly resilient among these falls, and the same with TTF. The real levels here on TTF are €3.90 and €5.90. That €2 range is really significant, but we did find very good support here on TTF at 4.60. So looking strong, and we've got some upside targets here. So it's not all bad news. Winter gas is down slightly this morning, but again holding on. And if we look at German power, down 0.5%. It fell yesterday as well, just the sentiment crunch. We are quite close here to having resistance, and if we can break that resistance level, this will be a turning point for German power. But of course we do have these very short-term targets hanging over us at the moment. French power, it's still in its uptrend, so it's actually leading at the moment, and we are still relatively confident that this has turned a corner, that German power hasn't yet turned. Dutch power, very similar chart to German power, of course, and if we look at Nordic power, we did actually break to a new high here. So we have had the low, the high, the higher low, and the higher high. So this is looking significant as well. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. See you then.